Stephen Fenwick, DHL Express competes with UPS and Fedex globally. You, to a certain extent, ceded the U.S. market to your competitors a few years ago, but now you're coming back. Why don't you talk about your plans for the U.S. market?
Sure. Well, I don't know whether ceded is the right word. We moved out of domestic, frankly, because our specialty is international. And where we're seeing a lot of growth, conversely, is back into Asia from the US. And we've actually seen a pickup in exports from the US over the last 12 months. Now it's maybe slowing a little bit now, but it's very encouraging to see that we're international and that the American economy is starting to export more than it did before, particularly also down south to Central and South America. So a lot of investments going in there. As in Cincinnati, we're just spending another $100 million to expand the ramp there, really just to put bigger planes on the ground so we can move more packages through Cincinnati and into the US. So a lot of good things going on.
And do you think what's going on in China right now is going to affect that business? It's nice to hear that more packages are going from the US to China. You think that'll slow down?
Well, I think I think this part is a bit overblown. The Chinese economy is still growing at 5–6%, and a lot of the West would kill for that, right? So I think, well, I know that our growth is still coming out of Asia. I think that also it's not only China, but the greater Asian countries, like Vietnam, for example. So they're still growing in terms of manufacturing. So we're still seeing that growth inbound because consumers in the US still want to buy from Asia, and that's a positive for us. And I think it is overblown. I believe that the Chinese economy is settling down, becoming more mature, and I think that's fundamentally good going forward.
Can you talk about some of the things that DHL Express is doing differently this time around? Once again, you're coming back, you're putting more money here in the U.S. market. I know you're experimenting with technology. What are you doing now to beat your competitors?
I think the big thing is a cultural thing, because we're about people, we're a big people company. And the attitude is to be internationally focused, right? We have a thing called the Certified International Specialist, which all our salespeople and our drivers go through. So the focus is on international, and I think that's the real difference between us and our major competitors, because that's all we know, that's what we do. In terms of technology, we're doing a lot with data across the Pacific as well as across the Atlantic, and really driving the use of data to express shipments around the world.
Outside of data, we hear about Amazon experimenting with drones and other types of delivery methods. What is DHL Express doing on that score?
So drones, yeah, I mean, it's in its infancy, right? You read about it in the paper all the time. We have a really successful, in Germany, we fly pharmaceuticals to a small island off the coast of Germany, which is very beneficial. But I think it's a long way to go. I'm sure there's lots of cats and dogs waiting on the front lawn to attack some of these drones because they land with your package. Something will come of it, but it's very much in its infancy at this stage.
Can you tell me whether or not the U.S. market is just overcrowded when you have DHL Express delivering to every zip code, you have UPS, you have FedEx, and you have the post office? Too many players out there for an economy that's just kind of muddling along?
Well, I think it's true. The growth has not, and consumer confidence has not been overpowering in the US over the last couple of years, that's for sure. But when you think about what is Amazon doing? Amazon is concerned about the capacity within the states, right? And they're actually opening up their own. So I think there's a growing need for this business. As we change from the brick and mortar to the clicking online to buy things, I think you're going to see a big change in the volumes that are going through the domestic. So I think there's going to be plenty of business for everyone, but it's up to the real winners there who do it the best. But again, we're about international, inbound and outbound from the States.
And then finally, you oversee the Americas. Does that include Latin America as well?
Yeah, Central and South, everything.
So what about the Latin American consumer? A lot of worries now with the downturn in emerging markets. And that was a big story for a long time, betting on the Brazilian consumer. Are they still solid?
Yeah, it's like a lot of places, you can't generalize, right? You've got some countries that are fantastic, the Colombias, the Perus, the Chiles of the world, and then you've got some other countries that are struggling, right? So, but a lot of those countries are really turning to, if you look at the online buying power of the people in South and Central America, it's growing exponentially, right? So I think there's great opportunity down there. Even in Central, I was in Honduras 2 weeks ago, I was in Guatemala, and even in those countries you see the greater access to the internet and purchasing online from China, a lot from China, but also from the USA.
All right, well, thanks a lot for coming and talking about it.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you for watching The Street.